Welcome back to my channel, Star Booze.
They were, but they weren't. Although they were hardcore, they were good men. Generations have been defined by Sam Elliott's voice, stern, authoritative, and unambiguous. However, few admirers ever realized what was hidden behind the classic Western: swagger, cowboy hats, and mustache, a silent rage that has been building for many years. Because despite the admiration Sam has received throughout the course of his 6-decade career, he has never forgiven 6 actors, some for their contributions to the craft, while others for their private, professional, or covert actions against him. Until today, he had never given names. He is no longer holding back at 80. You won't see them the same way after seeing who was on his blacklist. Let's start with a performer who forced Sam to leave the set and never come back. He couldn't stand the cowboy Kevin Costner. Authenticity was the cornerstone of Sam Elliott's career. Every line earned, every part. He wasn't merely acting like a cowboy. He grew up surrounded by the dust and orderliness of the Old West. On ranches, Sam provided a genuine warning and lived in quality to the screen. His speech had the scent of leather. The years were evident in his eyes. He was the real deal. Therefore, you trusted him. Sam was therefore not impressed with Kevin casting as a cowboy in Wyatt Earp and then as the stern father in Yellowstone. He viewed Costner as the cowboy of Hollywood. Perfect lighting, smooth lines, and clean boots. The West wasn't involved. It was a set. He once said to a buddy that he plays a rancher as if it were dress-up, as if he were cosplaying something he didn't really get. Sam rolled his eyes as fans praised Yellowstone for its grand photography, high-stakes drama, and Costner's gravity. There was no resemblance to the West he was familiar with. For those who had never dug a fence post or smelled livestock at dawn, he saw a dazzling illusion. Sam saw it as a glorified and tinted postcard of reality, according to insiders. He was even given a cameo in the program, but he flatly refused, referring to it as soap opera with a cowboy hat. Furthermore, the script wasn't the only reason for the rejection. It was a declaration, a subdued but forceful denial of Yellowstone's concept. Westerns were more than just amusement to Elliot. They served as a code of ethics. Grit, self-control, and the kind of stoic silence that spoke louder than words were qualities he admired. He believed that Costner offered glitz, gloss, and high-end appeal with no character. The tension was strong even when the two were in the same room. According to one producer, they never yelled, but their cold relationship could ice a desert, and that altercation would only be the start. The West finds Benedict Cumberbatch too British. Sam Elliott shocked both colleagues and admirers in 2021 when he publicly denounced the dog's influence. There was no pretense or well-crafted diplomacy concealed under evasive praise. Sharp, unvarnished, and unabashedly frank, his words were loud, abrupt, and unavoidable like a stray bullet in a quiet saloon. However, it went beyond the movie's tempo or creative decisions. It was intimate. With scathing contempt, Sam focused on Benedict Cumberbatch, the film's British star. Sam offered the kind of criticism that isn't retracted in a professional press tours, making fun of his accent, his posture, and what he memorably called a prissy caricature of a Western rancher. What on earth does this British person know about the American West, really? During a podcast appearance, he scoffed, his voice brimming with equal parts disbelief and frustration. The response was swift and intense. Supporters of Cumberbatch and the movie's contemporary psychological interpretation of masculinity rebelled. Social media took off. Sam was referred to several critics as a holdover from a different period, who was too obstinate to change with the genre he had once contributed. Too defining, they charged him with gatekeeping, holding on to antiquated ideas of ruggedness, and denying new voices a platform. Sam didn't blink though. He didn't provide an updated interpretation or a clarifying statement. He remained steadfast in his saddle. He felt that the dog's strength didn't only fall short. It disregarded the custom it was attempting to imitate. He thought it idealized damaged masculinity and misinterpreted the true meaning of the Western. He wasn't going to ruin a single show. He was protecting a tradition, a genre based on a deeply personal code of ethics, hard-won wisdom, and quiet strength. Although Benedict Cumberbatch never gave a clear response, insiders said he was extremely offended. According to reports, studio officials had private talks about whether to react in public, maybe with a tactful reprimand or a counter-argument. However, Cumberbatch issued spectacle in favor of quiet. As a gunslinger who had already taken his 10 steps and pulled the trigger, Sam, on the other hand, stood by every word. The West wasn't a costume or a filter for movies to him. It was a way of life and a code that demanded honesty rather than fads. And he wasn't going to let anyone, no matter how well known, to change it while he was looking. If that upset you, just wait to find out who he next chastised. The actor who made the craft look bad was Ashton Kutcher. Sam Elliott considers acting to be sacred. It is a craft developed via perseverance, discipline, and unadulterated emotional truth rather than a popularity contest or a playground for influencers, tech entrepreneurs, or celebrities. He felt that every job has to have a genuine, visceral, and earned origin. Therefore, Sam was angered rather than impressed when Ashton Kutcher became famous after the 7 South show. which was followed by a flurry of light-hearted comedies and ostentatious Silicon Valley adventures. It felt like a smack in the face of everything Elliot held dear. Sam didn't object though. When the two were chosen to star together in the Netflix series The Ranch, he arrived, memorized his lines, and completed the task. After all, he was a professional. However, the fissures developed early on behind the scenes. Even when there was no verbal communication, crew members report that the tension was evident. Sam reportedly shook his head and screamed to staff during calm times. He was heard stating, "He's a decent guy, but he wasn't a professional actor." It had nothing to do with Ashton's demeanor. His method was the one that annoyed Sam the most. Elliot saw Kutcher as the face of a new Hollywood where followers outnumbered resumes. Algorithms took precedence over authenticity, and charm and mimicry took the place of discipline and spirit. This wasn't evolution to Sam. Erosion was the cause. Slick branding, superficiality, and shortcuts were diluting the hallowed art of narrative. Sam was aware of the reality, even though viewers of the show witnessed chemistry on film. It was nothing more than acting. Always polished in interviews, Kutcher hailed Sam as a mentor and referred to him as a legend. In private, however, Sam was much less flattering. He allegedly whispered to a companion, "He's acting like a guy who saw acting on YouTube." It was standards, not resentment. Sam didn't harbor resentment. He was protecting a dwindling code, one that required truth, silence, and presence. He detested the world he saw where tradition was being sold for clicks and narrative was turning into a spectacle. Although the strategy may have been successful for the spectators, there was simply tolerance and no fraternity or bond behind the scenes. Then came Nicolas Cage, whose name really rocked Sam's world. Too strange, too loud. Subtlety is valued by Sam Elliott. According to him, the most impactful performances simmer rather than yell. A single word that was held just long enough to pierce deeply, a weighted stillness, and an elevated eyebrow. He felt that restraint, not volume, was the essence of acting. The subdued, grounded performance style that doesn't scream for attention. It is earned. Sam didn't see brilliance when Nicolas Cage stormed onto the scene with his high-octane, quirky style, thrashing limbs, bugged eyes, and unexpected outbursts. He witnessed mayhem. He didn't think Cage was acting out a role. He was performing a show, a one-man performance that took up every picture and drained the scene of its vitality. Sam stayed away from the set even when they both starred in Ghost Rider. Yes, it is polite. Always with respect, not even close to being warm. Sam made harsh remarks in subsequent interviews, but he never mentioned specific people. He talked about egotistical actors who take over the screen and make every moment into their own stage. Production bigger, flashier, and louder. Sam's close friends understood exactly who he was referring to. Cage was the one. He is less flame and more firework. Sam allegedly said, "Big bang, no heat," to a confidential source. Sam remained devoted to a slower, more steady craft, while Cage developed a cult following on unpredictable energy. He supported underplay and allowing the audience to lean in rather than retreat. For Sam, Cage embodied a troubling trend in contemporary filmmaking, a preference for anarchy over narrative and a craving for shock. In his opinion, it was amusement rather than art, with style overpowering content. Sam wasn't buying it, even if Cage occasionally received accolades and had performances that critics referred to as gloriously insane. Not for a moment. No trophy, in his opinion, could make up for what he perceived to be pointless showmanship, because getting viral wasn't the goal of true acting. According to Elliot, it was about introspection, truth, silence, and humanity, the same qualities he thought Cage had long since given up. However, the name that came as the biggest shock was that of a person Sam used to think of as a friend, the chilly friendship with Jeff Bridges. At one point, Jeff Bridges and Sam were made of the same fabric, poetic in stillness, gritty and grounded. To own a scene, they didn't require dramatic breakdowns or ostentatious speeches. Presence, that unique magnetic calm that few performers ever achieve, was the source of their power. Without raising their voices, these men were able to convey a lot of information. Together, they starred in The Big Lebowski, a cult movie that would later become a landmark in culture. They were both sides of the same coin and magnetic on screen. Off-screen, they appeared to have a sincere friendship based on respect and trust, as well as laughter and lengthy chats. However, something broke somewhere along the line. Not in a spectacular explosion, but rather in a long, silent unraveling that neither of them publicly acknowledged. Sam allegedly observed a change after Bridges' Oscar win for Crazy Heart. The man who used to exude modesty and understated charm started to appear in upscale fashion magazines, on the red carpet sporting political messages across his breast, and in elegantly designed news conferences. According to a person close to Elliot, he grew more curated and less grounded, making him more difficult to reach. That it seemed to Sam that Hollywood glitz had taken the place of the honesty that had always characterized Jeff. The weight of fame. It seemed to wash away the simplicity they originally professed and their common conviction that the work should speak for itself. When asked about previous partners in a rare interview, Sam made a cryptic but clear statement. While some people evolve, others simply remain the same. Many thought it was aimed directly at Bridges. And even though Jeff never answered, the ensuing quiet was deafening. In keeping with his cool, collected demeanor, they ceased supporting one another's endeavors, going to the same festivals, and being brothers of the screen. Sam's suffering has nothing to do with competitiveness or ego. It had nothing to do with politics or accolades. It has to do with something far more intimate. It was the weakening of a connection he had previously believed to be unbreakable, a connection based on principles rather than celebrity. And when things fell apart, it left a silent pain that Sam seldom ever mentioned. According to insiders, he felt abandoned, not because he was betrayed, but rather because he gradually realized that the man he had been standing next to was now somewhere else. And what followed was far worse than that pain, the pain of lost brothers, because Sam never anticipated having to face the last name. The method has gone crazy. Jared Leto, the biggest thing that Sam Elliott dislikes. Pretense, not assurance. Not dedication, but the kind of exaggerated, look at me, self-seriousness that transforms art into performance art for the benefit of the performer rather than the audience. Sam didn't see genius when Jared Leto gained notoriety for his severe method acting, which included sending rats to co-stars, refusing to break character for weeks, and transforming movie sets into psychological obstacle courses. A gimmick caught his eye. Neither the Oscar nor the news impressed him. He found the spectacle annoying. Sam used to refer to it as talent masquerading as theatrics. He didn't mean it lightly either. He was even blunter in private. He reportedly told a pal, maybe he's in the wrong profession. If acting requires that much work. Press tours and behind-the-scenes horror tales were unnecessary for outstanding acting, in Elliott's opinion. It meant slipping into the job discreetly, effectively, and with dignity. Making the procedure into a funfair was not the goal. The goal was to give the character life. Insiders stated that Sam was once involved with a movie in its early stages of development. Despite the fact that Leto and Sam never worked together on a set, the story appealed to him. The director was liked by him. He then learned that Jared Leto had been fired. He took a step. Just a forceful but quiet departure. No phone contact, no press notice. The line was drawn that deeply. Acting isn't supposed to be a circus. According to Sam, it should be sincere while remaining human. The kind of work that inspires rather than shocks people. And that last name demonstrated how far the art form had deviated from its origins. Sam Elliott is not pursuing parts at the age of 80. He is seeking the truth. Furthermore, some actors, regardless of their level of fame, were undeserving of their pedestal. Sam views acting as a combination of restraint, tradition, and honesty, and he's okay with standing by himself if that's what it takes. Because Sam Elliott is still the last authentic cowboy in a noisy town. We would like to hear from you now, though. Which of these feuds caught you off guard the most? And did Sam act harshly or honestly in your opinion? More Hollywood secrets will be released shortly. So please leave your opinions in the comments section and remember to like and subscribe.